Sudas HaMasora, right? You know that the Torah talks about grasshoppers and yum yum eat them up, and all kinds of deers and caribou and who knows what, giraffes that you're allowed to eat. And they, if you want me to close up, we'll close up. But if you want me to go on, I'll go on.
I want to hear about Sudas HaMasoros.
Okay, so they're having the Sudas HaMasoros. Now, I personally would love to eat water buffalo, and I would love to eat deer. Grasshoppers, I told my wife she could eat, but I'm not so interested myself. So it's the Sudas HaMasoros. And
They don't know what it is.
okay, certain things, like birds, the Torah enumerates 24 kosher birds, 24 non-kosher birds. So if you can identify the 24 non-kosher birds, then all the other birds are kosher. But we can't. And since we can't, we have certain simonim, but they are simonim from Chazal, but they're not simonim mentioned in the Torah. One of them is called drosa, or dores. If the animal is a dores, which we might translate as a bird of prey, you may not eat it. But since it's not always clear whether a bird is a dores or not, we were makabel for many hundreds of years, exactly how many, depends where, what, when. We don't eat it without a masara, without a tradition that this is a kosher bird. Which birds have a tradition? Chickens, ducks, geese, not turkeys. A turkey is a New World bird on which there is no tradition. When they started eating turkeys, they thought that Columbus had landed in India. And the Rabbanim wrote to the Rabbanim of India and said, do you have a masaras on that bird? And they said, of course. But they weren't talking about the turkeys. Why we are able to eat turkeys, the best explanation that I had was from Rabbi J. David Bleich, who said that the eating of the turkey was accepted before the eating of a bird only with a masaras was accepted. Whether that's factually correct, I don't know, but it's the best explanation that I heard. We don't eat turkeys. We sometimes invite turkeys to the table, but anyway, so what about mallard ducks, muscovy ducks? Now, that's all with regard to birds. In regard to grasshoppers, of course you need a masara. Would you know if it's a kosher grasshopper by looking at it? You would not. But Yemenites, many of them would know. Moroccans used to eat grasshoppers. You could look it up on the internet and look at the kosher species of grasshoppers. But most Ashkenazim don't even want to eat a grasshopper, but I'm told that they're very yummy. All right. What about animals? So the Shach, Sifsei Cohen, one of the very, very important Meforshim on the Shulchan Aruch, says that you can only eat behemoths, or chayas maybe, with a masara also, with a tradition that this is a kosher animal. Why this is so, it's very difficult for me to understand, but I'm not the Shach. The explanation that I got from Rabbi Bleich was that they were choshish for a genetic mutation. Could be. But in any case, so there's this group that is trying to establish that in fact we do have a masara on various things and we can eat it. Giraffe, for instance, Rabbeinu Sadia Gaon says that the giraffe is the zemer, which is a chayat tahora mentioned in the Torah. Very expensive, tough meat, but in a pinch. And if anyone ever tells you they don't know where to shech the giraffe, they are either pulling your leg or idiots. Could be either one, because there's this big giant place on the giraffe that you can shecht. And you know why the giraffe developed the long neck. This is part of the evolutionary process so that they could eat the food on the higher branches, because there was no food on the lower branches, right? That's organic evolution, Darwin and so on. And that is why there are no giraffes today, because the little baby giraffes and the lady giraffes, which were shorter, couldn't reach the high branches, so they all starved to death, and therefore there are no giraffes today. Okay, that's as far as evolution is concerned. So anyway, so they wanted to make a seuda to mechazek, the tradition on these various birds and the animals and so on and so forth. And they were going to shecht a jamus, a water buffalo. So what do you think Tsvi Rogin, or Harav Agon, or Tsvi Rogin, the Radzabam, would do if there was going to be a jamus served the following night? I tried to get into the car to go watch the shechit of the jamus and to check the knife, but there was supposedly no room in the car and I didn't get to go. But at least I wanted to hear all the lectures in the shiurim at the Sudas HaMasoros, because they had world-renowned people, Rav Schlesinger Schleiter, and so on and so forth, to talk about all these wonderful things, and I wanted at least to hear it. But I will not sit in a place where someone will suspect that I am eating something that you're not allowed to eat, because they will say, oh, Rabbi Rogin is here, well, you could eat it. Right? I won't do that. So I went to the restaurant in advance, before the Sudas and Mefosaris, to check out the restaurant. So I see the organizer, and he said, "Oh, good, you're here. I have to run out. You be the mashgiach for a while." Does he know if I'm a trained mashgiach? He does not. I said, "At 4 o'clock, I am leaving, whether you are back or not. I must leave." I was there with a friend. He said, "Fine." All right. So we are watching. The owner says, Mefurash, he's a Mechal Shabbos B'Farhes. He has public Sabbath desecrator, meaning he has no ne'emanos for kashrus whatsoever. Well, halfway through our time there, we discovered that there was a back door to the kitchen, and stuff could go in and out all the time. Meaning, in Yiddish we say, gornisht wert, is worth nothing. Our standing there outside, or walking in and out of the kitchen, doesn't help if we didn't know there was a back door that they could have been bringing stuff in. Even if it was just a simple question of meisering, termos and masros. So, you have to be on the ball all the time. Posen, Shlita, should live and be well. The Dayan of broilers used to be in charge of the Shlita and all the kashrus for broilers. And when he was in charge, they had secret simonim on all the pieces of meat. They knew exactly how many cows came out glad kosher from their shechita. The shochtim were paid by the kehillah. Every day a mashgiach went to every single butcher store, checked every piece of meat for the secret simonim, counted the pieces of meat to make sure it was all correct. Now, well, unfortunately, the modern generation doesn't speak so much Yiddish. We will only tell you that a cow in Yiddish is a key. All right? So one day the Rav comes into the butcher store. "How is it that you sold 400 kosher tongues? We only shechted 100 kosher animals yesterday." And he said, "Ki mishamish ba'arba lashonos." So if you learned enough Rashi and so on, and you speak a little Yiddish, the word ki, kaf yud, can mean 4 different things. But ki mishamish ba'arba lashonos in Yiddish means the cow uses 4 tongues. Okay. Wasn't so funny. You don't have to laugh. All right. Make me feel bad.
Maybe we should wrap up for those who want to go, continue for those.
Okay. Whoever wants to go, I will turn the other way. When I had a shul, I only gave the drasha after Anim Zmiros. And I announced, whoever needs to go, wants to go, go. And I only gave a drasha twice a year anyway, Shabbos Shuvah and Shabbos Agol.
How did you make that?
Well, eventually we got kicked out of our place, but, I wasn't getting paid for that either. I paid the Baal Kriya myself. Lo navi v'lo ben navi onechi. If I would be a prophet, I'd know where to get the profit. Okay, so I'll tell you about one butcher who was under the system with the secret simonim. And under the terms of his hechsher, he could take either broilers poultry, I could take broilers meat, or he could take satmar meat. And he told me he never took satmar meat into the store because some people don't use it, and for them it's like a neder, and he wouldn't want to machshel them. And I was trying to learn how to do trebring, which is removing certain blood vessels that we Ashkenazim remove before we soak and salt the meat. And one day there was this big giant piece of meat hanging there, and it had plumbers from satmar. The guy had said he doesn't have any satmar meat in the store, so I asked the guys who were cutting up the meat, "What's this?" "This is the bull meat." "What do you use it for?" "The salamis." So when the balabos came in, I said, "So all the salamis are with the satmar meat?" He said, "No, we don't have any satmar meat in the store." I said, "What about the bull meat?" He said, "Oh, Broyes doesn't shecht bulls." I said, no, I didn't say bull. The same butcher, on another occasion, had Empire turkeys, and I'm not saying turkey is kosher, and I'm not saying Empire is either kosher or treif, but his hechsher did not allow him to use Empire anything. And he was carefully cutting off the plastic bags that were printed with Empire, and cutting off the metal plumbers that said Empire, and putting them in the display tray, and selling them to people who thought that they were buying broilers turkeys. So that's called faking, cheating. Even if it is kosher, he's stealing, because the broilers is more expensive than the Empire. Bagels. Bagels is bread. I was teaching in Dayton, Ohio, which is a midbar of Yiddishkeit, 7,500 Jews in town. 3 ladies covered their hair. 10 ladies used the mikveh. A midbar. There was no kosher butcher in town. The kosher bakery was run by an Italian goy. And somebody opened up a bagel store, and the Talmidim said, "Rabbi Rogin, can we eat the bagels?" And I said, "I'll check it out." Now, one of the girls in the class, her father was giving the hechsher on the bagels. Okay. So I went over to the bagel store, and bagels are very simple. We make them at home for Shavuos. Flour, water, salt, yeast, showing you have everything you need for a bagel. For a longer shelf life, they put in oil. Salt looked pretty good. Flour looked pretty good. The water wasn't bad. This is not in New York, so we didn't have bugs. In America, the Wasser is treif. But he had this oil. What's the oil for? A certain kind of a bagel. It had a big K on the label. Where do you get the oil? We get it from a wholesaler, Plony, who buys it from factory Plony, and it's under hashgacha of Rav Plony. The only one that I remember is the Miami Margarine Company in Cincinnati, Ohio. So, all right, the Plony Rav who gave the hechsher was somebody that we knew about, and it was a good hechsher. So what did I do? I called the wholesaler. Yes, we sell them the oil. We get it from Miami Margarine, and it's under the hechsher of Rav Plony. Then what did I do? I called up Miami Margarine Company. Yes, we sell them the oil, and we make the oil, and it's under the hechsher of Rav Plony. Very good. So I called up Rav Plony, and Rav Plony said, "Baloney." Lo hayu hadvarim me'olam, but I'll check it out for you. So the actual oil was not made in Ohio; it was made in Minnesota, under the hechsher of the widow Rebbitzin of a Rav whose hechsher was not accepted by the people in his own town. And I reported back to my class not to eat the bagels. And the girl whose father gave the hechsher was extremely upset. And I said, I can only say what I see. And I feel bad for you, but I can't change it. That's the way it is. And that's the way it was. And this bakery, when I got to town, if you can imagine, I was the Gadol Hador of Dayton, Ohio. And, the Rav was a fine man, got up at 5 o'clock every morning to make sure he learned before he went to become the minion and then to be the principal of the school. But as far as halacha was concerned, I was the guy. So he asked me to check into the bakery because they had stopped using the local bakery and were schlepping in bread for the school from Cincinnati, an hour away. It's a big problem. And we got together a meeting, made a vad ha'ir, and a hin, we had a whole system. A volunteer mashgichim would sign a notebook when they came in, and so on and so forth. And of course, at the beginning, we went through, you have to kosher this, you have to throw out that. 6 months later, a bag full of wormholes, the same bag that had been there before that I told him to throw out, was still in the store. Maybe he wasn't using it, maybe he was. It was an Italian goy, you can't be somach on, because he wasn't following what we told him. Always check, always check, always check. One more story. I went to a chasna many, many years ago, probably changed, hopefully changed. I lived in Washington Heights. The chasna was in Crown Heights. It was on a Motzei Shabbos in the catering hall, which was the catering hall for a certain so-called Hasidic group. And we, being Yekis coming from Washington Heights, even though we had to schlep down there an hour, we were among the first people there. And the caterers were already cooking, even though there were no Jews supervising the kitchen yet. We did not eat at that chasna, nor should you. One thing I must tell you, and that's about the salmon. Must tell you about the salmon. There are people who will tell you that salmon is a particularly pink color and there's no substitute for it, and therefore, and you will not find, the most frum mashgiach, the second most frum mashgiach that I know, gives a hechsher on a certain lox company in Los Angeles, and he does not check every fish.
I think we shouldn't use the mic now, don't answer it.
Oh, sorry.
Just for now, no mic.
And he told me that he does not check every fish. Now, if we didn't lose it by dropping all these papers, we have an article from the Jerusalem Post. Deadly pufferfish sold as salmon kills 15. Now, I don't know what a pufferfish looks like, but 15 people bought it thinking it was salmon and ate it and died.